So in true Spurs fashion, they didn't do much this offseason, as other teams did a whole lot of stuff. And it would have been cool to see San Antonio really make a splash with some kind of a trade, whether it be for a guy like Mike Conley or whoever else. But I think it's safe to say this team is still going to be pretty good. Like, I don't picture a drop-off from DeRozan or Aldridge. And between DeJounte coming back and you think Lonnie Walker will actually get minutes now, and you hope for some improvement from like Derek White and Jakob Poeltl and whoever else, and the DeMarre Carroll signing, kind of under the radar, kind of okay, I guess. Basically asking is, can the Spurs just continue their playoff run, or is somebody going to knock them out this season, right? Well, I think we can pencil in San Antonio for, what did they win last season, 48 games? I think they could win 50, and it wouldn't be ridiculous, just given the improvements that are coming here. If anything, just because they didn't really lose much, Unless we think LaMarcus Aldridge is going to drop off in his whatever season, and he's going to be 34 this year. But I don't think so. Aldridge doesn't show really any signs of decline. I guess what could potentially knock San Antonio down is if the stuff that they go for, which is more post-ups and mid-range jumpers and not as many threes and all that, if that just comes back to bite them, because maybe it's tougher to sustain a good offense like that than we think. But given that it's Popovich, and given that DeRozan and Aldridge are two of the best in those type of things, I don't really think so. I think it's going to be still one of the better offenses in the league, even if it's not always the most fun to watch. But you could see them make a bit of a jump defensively. I think a lot of that is going to come down to Poeltl and DeJounte. Now, is DeJounte going to have any lingering stuff from his injury? We don't really know. It was an ACL tear. And, that can open the floodgates for lower body injuries, but it's possible that it's also just a one-off thing where you miss a season, you come back, and you're still the same guy. So, don't really know. We're going to have to wait and see, but even DeJounte Murray being the same guy is a really good defensive player. I've said this before, I'll say it again. Technically speaking, DeJounte Murray is on pace to being one of the best defenders ever, because not many guys make all defense in their second season. So if he can be that dude who you can just use however you really want to defensively, and that makes it easier for whatever would be the starting perimeter player rotation. DeJounte, DeRozan, and I don't know who. Maybe it's Derek White, maybe it's Bellinelli, who really knows. But that's cool. I do want to get to Poeltl as well, because I think if you got a really good defensive wing/guard, and then you got a defensive big who knows what he's doing, then I think that can definitely take you pretty far defensively. Last year the Spurs on defense were 19th according to Basketball Reference. So, with Poeltl, it's all there for him to be a good rim protector. The thing with him, though, is I feel like he's going to be one of those bigs where it takes longer than you'd like it to for him to get to a point where you're confident playing him 25 to 30 minutes, because he hasn't played 20 minutes a game yet in his career. Now, his advanced stats are very positive. The win shares per 48 would suggest that Poeltl's already kind of amazing. His true shooting is very good and all that stuff, but I'm not buying all of that just yet. But I do think the absolute upside for Poeltl defensively would be maybe Whiteside on a good day, maybe 2 years ago. And the lowest side could be Robin Lopez, which is still pretty damn solid center overall, but especially a defensive player. So I do like Pirtle, and I do think he can be a part of this like fun group of guys that could energize the Spurs a bit. Another dude in there is Derek White. And the ceiling for Derek White, it's a very interesting one. And I remember doing this in a video like 4 months ago, talking about all these guys. But he is a savvy dude with the ball in his hands, and he's a good finisher and all that stuff. So I think Pop can do a pretty good job with that, and he can just be a part of a solid enough offense and not hurt them this season. Whether that's averaging 12, 13 a game and being pretty efficient, even if occasionally his lack of a three might frustrate you. Or maybe he's really a part of the offense and he gets up to 16, 17 a game. That's maybe a little optimistic, but I guess it's possible. And then Bryn Forbes will make shots and whatever else. All right, so let's look at them in comparison to some of the other teams in the West, right? And also, Lonnie Walker's going to play, and we'll see what happens with him. I'm not really freaked out that he didn't play much his rookie season. So, the teams you immediately think of who could get into the playoffs are like the Kings, the Pelicans, the Mavs. I think the Spurs are better than all of them because I feel like the Spurs just have this floor, mainly through Popovich, that is just a lot higher than those teams. Like the Kings are very fun and very talented, no doubt. But for one, I don't trust Luke Walton the way I trust Pop, of course. And I do still fear like there's a bit of a logjam up front where it's like Barnes and Bielitsa competing for the 4 spot. Barnes is going to shoot a lot more, although there's a chance Bielitsa's better. You got Bagley, and they signed Dedmon, which, you know, I love Dwayne Dedmon, but how many minutes is he going to be playing? Is Bagley even ready to play center right now? Are you going to go with Bagley and Dedmon? Then the spacing could be weird. There's just a lot of that stuff that they're going to have to figure out, and there's a chance it works from day one. I'm just a little skeptical. You look at the Mavs, a lot of it depends on where Porzingis is at health-wise. Also, for as much as we love Luka, is it really going to happen in his second season where he carries them to 46 wins or something to get them out of the postseason? That's a tough sell. The Pelicans, I mean, I think the Pelicans have a lot of things they have to figure out where there's a lack of shooting from some guys, and they don't really have a center, which might not be a problem if Jackson Hayes is good as a rookie, and Derek Favors, I mean, he has a center's game. He just might be a little too small, but that could be fine. But also, they're really going to be relying on Zion, and don't get me wrong, I'm very high on Zion as everybody else is, but first season compared to a team like the Spurs where they just know what they are going into it, right? So yeah, I think where I end up is, I think the Spurs get back in. I think their run, whatever the run is, keeps on keeping on, and is there even a chance that they could be a little surprising and they could get to, let's say, 53, 54 wins, whereas all of us are just forgetting about them a little bit because of all the stuff that happened in the West this offseason? Honestly, it wouldn't shock me because you have a lot of these teams where, like, between how much are Paul George and Kawhi really going to play, and I think Westbrook and Harden, I mean, I've picked the Rockets to get the 1 seed because I just think they're going to win a crap ton of games, as that would imply, of course. And then the awkwardness of Harden and Westbrook will come alive in the playoffs. But there's a chance it comes alive game 1 of the regular season. There's a chance I'm way too high on just their regular year. There's a chance that the Lakers, there's 9 million things that could happen with the Lakers. So, you know, maybe. I'm not betting on it. I think the Spurs are going to hover around 50, but maybe there's a world where they get to like 55 because the West is just a whole bunch of like, how good are we really? And guys trying to learn to play together, whereas the Spurs are just going in there with consistency and chemistry and all that. And of course, they have the best coach. So there's all that for you.